by when? In other words, what's kind of the drop dead date that then triggers what you propose in terms of the refund, et cetera?
Well, I would think at least 60 to 90 days before the election date, we would know whether we have the DS200 certified. And if we didn't, at that point, we'd have to lock in the plans to use the Model 100s. Then we would issue the refund of the $1,425,000 and provide the Model 100s at no charge. Now, let me just mention this to you, that we are extremely confident in our ability to make the certification of the DS200. We have been working over the last 12 months with the EAC to certify this product. We are very close to completion. We have every reason to believe that we will receive certification by November 9th. We've worked very closely with the Independent Testing Authority, SysTest, as well as the examiners of the EAC, and that is a targeted date. We've also worked very closely with Chris Nance at the Secretary of State's office to make sure we have clear understanding and expectations of what it will take to then certify the DS200 in Ohio. And as you know, there's the Everest report, and we have an understanding of what their expectations are beyond just what the EAC has certified, and we have put those enhancements into the product already that's at the EAC to satisfy the requirements under the Everest report. So I think you should have complete confidence, as I do, in providing this guarantee. Believe me, that's a check that I do not want to write. I would much rather provide you the DS200 on time so that you could use it going forward.
I have a guarantee question, and this is going to be a question, I know everybody's going to look at me cross-eyed, but it's been put to me, and it made me a little uncomfortable, it may make you a little uncomfortable, but it was a fair question that somebody asked me and caused me to pause. But it's an important question, and can you guarantee that we are going to have a relatively glitch-free, successful election in November if we recommend adopting your system and use it in the election? And I'm going to ask the same question of Hart.
Well, I was asked the same thing 62 days prior to your last election, and we stepped up and made it happen. You're giving me more than 62 days this time around. I got to believe that if we work together like we did in the past, by working closely with Jane and her team and our team, we've got a lot that's already accomplished. I think clearly 80 to 85% of what has to get done has already been accomplished, and there's very few surprises out there for us. And I'm it's difficult to say. I guarantee. Let me tell you, we're going to put everything we can forward. We understand what's at stake here. We understand the eyes of this country are going to be looking at Ohio, and especially Cuyahoga County. And we're not going to let you down. We didn't let you down in March. We're not going to let you down in November. We're fortunate. We've got the right people. We've got the right solution. It's proven. We can get the job done.
Well, thanks for your response. And I would ask Mr. Burke the same question. These guarantee questions are tough, but somebody put it to me, and I understood exactly where they were coming from. So that's why I'm asking you the question as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is what we do. We brought up in 2006 128 different discrete counties without flaw. I know Cuyahoga County is complex, and that was quite a feat. We're very confident that we can deliver a very successful election in a very popular election this time around, which is a great thing. And that's what we ought to be measured by. How tough is it, and how well did we do? How accurate and reliable was the system? How well did we work together? And that's just simply what Hart does. And our customers will tell you.
So you would guarantee
Yes.
successful performance in November?
Yes, and I'll tell you too that it is, by guaranteeing that, I'm taking for granted that two teams work very well together. So far, we've worked with the team here in Cuyahoga County extremely well. I thought I was here last week or the week before, I guess it was last week, and watched the teams work together just to understand the system. and the chemistry was very good. We feel very comfortable that your team is very competent to deliver that election successfully in the way the American people appreciate it. So, yeah.
Thank you for your response.
So kind of a disconnect for me a little bit is that strong statement with the warranty language.
The
So
warranty language is fine as it's written,
that we gave.
that you gave us.
I just asked one other quick
You
question.
didn't ask me that before, but I meant to answer it.
No, I'll ask Mr. Testa, and I'll give you kind of an easy question here. We asked about kind of subcontracting, transferring all of that, and I think we both gave similar responses, which is, as long as we don't, sell or merge or anything. So I just want to make sure that so my question is, there's no current plans by your company to merge, consolidate, otherwise change your corporate structure? There's nothing like that on the table or contemplated in the near future,
No,
is that correct?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
That's recently correct.
Recently correct.
We had a
I didn't know there was some real significance there in that question.
yeah, I want to make sure that we always take the high road with you. We had discussions going on with a competitor that are now off and finished, and there is no further discussion. So I want to make sure that, and there were some rumors around that.
I didn't even know that. That
Yeah.
wasn't really I was
It's
just kind
no
of
longer.
notes here.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Okay.
And the same question, I guess, for Mr. Tessie. Mr. McNair?
This and the warranty.
That question about corporate viability and also the warranty.
We have the warranty, the same response, we're comfortable with the wording. Second thing, on the corporate viability, there are absolutely no plans to merge or be acquired business. We're privately held. We've had the same owners since 1986. We're profitable, and in fact, they continue to fuel investments into the business. They want us to enhance our products and grow the business significantly.
Thank you, Mr. Tessie. I have two questions in regards to, and I think it was answered, in regards to make a decision, we're going to need staff and on-site for a contract after hammered out. And is that a commitment you can make, number one? Number two, are you, and I think this happened last time with you, although I'm not Dave Becker, Lambert, our legal counsel, regards to performance guarantees. In other words, if you will agree to deliver product at a certain date, and if you don't, there's a penalty associated with that milestone and another penalty. And is that something that you're willing to agree to in the process of negotiating this contract?
We are willing to agree to that, performance guarantees and the dates. We just want to, whatever's measurable, whatever's meaningful for you, we'll sit down and work through that. And in terms of getting together, once we get the green light, we'll bring up a team of people and work through this. But I'd like to say that that's not going to stop us from starting the process of starting to work with Jane and her team. We don't feel that's a requirement. This is a busy time for Jane. We would like to start the process and working with her warehouse people and her staff and starting to lay out the plans. So we would parallel path that where we work proactively with you while we're working on the agreement.
Thank you. And the same question, Mr. Burton, in regards to performance guarantees in a contract, certain milestones, as well as having staff here during that process.
Performance guarantees in the contract are to be expected. That's fine with us. And it's in terms of getting started on a contract, if you want to start in the morning, we're ready.
Just to follow up on that, if I could, it kind of ties into the most favored nations clause. So will you, across the board, give us the most favored nations clause with respect to all aspects of the contract? So, for example, to take the chairman's question, if you give a performance guarantee that's out there to somebody else, you'll give that to us. You'll give us the most, whatever it is in the contract. So we can say to our voters, we have the best contract from Hart. It's as good as any other contract with respect to any other term and condition. as is out there, and if it turns out that it's not, Hart is committed, that it will change it and fix it, and if it has to go back in time, we'll go back in time to do so.
Yes.
Okay. I asked the same question, Mr. Tessie.
Mr. Tessie? Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to, and I'll ask, and I don't know, Jane,
The printing thing is comparing possibilities.
what, I guess I would ask, in regards to ballot design and layout, which is software programs perform, start with you, Mr. Burke. Give us an example of some of the most sophisticated ballot layout designs that your company has faced in the last 2 years. Point to some specifics in regards to how many pages, languages, races, etc. I'll ask the same question to Mr. Tessie.
I'll take that question. Probably the best example that I can give, which, with all due respect to Mr. McNair, it is in the document that I gave you. Orange County, their election database is very complex by virtue of having many, many, many jurisdictions, a very large number of polling places, a very large number of precincts. There is a multiplicity of parties that are certified parties in California, and the ballot is in 5 languages. So to put the specifics on all of that, Orange County, which again has about 1.8 million registered voters, they have approximately 1,700 polling places, 2,000 precincts. They have had elections that have resulted in approximately 22,000 ballot styles that needed to include full text translation of every text string that a voter would see on the ballot, as well as full audio in all of those 5 languages. They were English, Spanish, Chinese, and Korean.
That is with the eSlate voting device. Does the software, if we use eScan here, does that?
Well, that's all of the architecture of the entire system is built on the same platform. So ultimately, literally, the ballot data is all going into a single software application, and the question of whether the ballot and all the precinct associations and all the ballot styles, whether it is routed ultimately to an electronic ballot or to a paper ballot, is almost immaterial, because it is all being managed by the same software architecture.
Thank you. For your comparison is consistent, though. Your example dealt with an eSlate county. This would be an eScan county.
Indeed,
Right.
indeed. And if I could add one other thing, Mr. Hastings, in the present circumstances, and I imagine that maybe your staff has mentioned this to you, we were pleased in our demonstrations last week to be able to actually work with true live ballot data from Cuyahoga County from your March 2008 primary. And I hope they can all testify on their own that we are able to work very efficiently and seamlessly with an export of data that comes from the county's voter registration system. All of the information that you have in there for all of the local jurisdiction data and all of the election data can be output as a single file, and we have an application that can essentially format all of that data with very, very minor modification, direct import into our ballot production software. And those were actually the ballots under our system architecture, actually formatted and so forth, that we were able to work with as recently as last week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cassie or?
Sorry.
Mr. Perez, just got a follow-up question.
Yes, sorry.
I just want to understand, I just want to make sure I'm not mistaken on this.
Okay.
Orange County's director of the Board of Elections explained to us that they do have to have ballots in all those languages, but he has multiple databases for those elections. So he doesn't just have one election database because he's got so many different capacities. He has one database for each of those elections.
Well, in that specific instance, Ms. Platt, the shortest way that I can answer your question is, ultimately, a lot of the issues that determine whether one needs to have one database or multiple databases is not a question of the absolute capacity of our architecture of the database itself. It is, in almost all instances, it is a workflow issue. It is a question that is attached to the timing, for example, of when you may have to mail paper ballots. In the instance of Orange County, when you are dealing with a situation where there are many, many languages, for example, it could also be tied, for example, to the desire of a jurisdiction to start mailing a lot of English ballots at the same time that they are going to delay the production of audio with recorded voice talent in those languages. So it is usually due to those administrative questions and timing questions that are unique to the jurisdiction rather than to some absolute capacity of our architecture itself.
So the fact that we have multiple primaries just weeks prior to a November election in odd years right now means that all of those primaries would have to be a separate database for November, because if we want to adhere to the absentee deadlines opening, we wouldn't be able to use placeholders basically. We have multiple databases for that one November election in municipal election years.
That may be true in some instances, yes. And one of the most important things that we would need to do in implementation like that is to have your designated project manager work through those timelines in a very detailed way, figure out what's going to be most efficient, and as far as the solution that we have proposed, the Fusion application is what we would propose to enable you to merge results from what are, strictly speaking, different databases with unique election IDs, but you could still record all of those results in a combined fashion.
Thank you. Representative from ES&S, in regards to the question about ballot layout and examples of some sophisticated layouts that ES&S is involved with.
Hello, my name is Ken Carbolito. I'm Senior Vice President of Systems at ES&S. And the first thing I'll say is we know we can handle the very complex Cuyahoga elections because we've done it. We can handle it with one database. We can import the data we need from the VR systems, and we can drive the ballot styles necessary. You've seen it. We've done it similarly with the same base software that handled counties such as large as Cook County, Chicago County. These databases can handle Dallas County, Detroit, Oakland, Miami-Dade, which has 3 languages. We've been in California where we've had up to 9 languages on a ballot, and we'll be in New York City with the very same software. So we have no question, no doubt that we can handle the complexity. We've done it in Cuyahoga.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up there? And this isn't really a ballot issue, but, and I appreciate ES&S telling us you've done it before and, you're proven, and we appreciate that history. But is it a fair comparison to say that you've done it on central optical scan and to say, and you have done it even though we're implementing precinct-based? I mean, is there a material difference there? And I appreciate.
That's a good question.
I appreciate, that you guys did have a successful, help us have a successful election with central optical scan, but we're moving into precinct-based, and, with all due respect, it's not the same thing we did in March. So, can you tell me whether or not, you feel confident given, what's going forward, and what material differences might there be from a systems or engineering and implementation standpoint? I know Jane has already kind of told us a little bit from her perspective, but from a vendor perspective, because, I'm glad to hear you say you've done it and you're in there with us and all that, but, effectively we are implementing a different system in November, so.
Yes, that's a good question, good observation. Each of these components needs to be looked at on their own. But to start with, that central single database, if you can create and house the election in that same central single database, develop your ballot styles, and produce the media, whether they're for the central count or the precinct count, you can come from one database, then the results can go back into a central database, and your whole process will be much simpler. So that's the starting point. If your database can house it all, that's the goodness to start with. Then you need to look at the individual categories. We know our Model 650 central scanner can handle it, because we've done it. The next component that would be new here would be either of our precinct scanners. And so it's not quite the same large single system you have to have in the central scanner, but it has to house what is in place for that particular polling place. And we've had many elections where we could manage multiple precincts within a polling place with the same complexity. So we see no problem with that at all either. Good question. You have to analyze every component.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please.
Maybe best for you. There is a spreadsheet on printing costs. I don't know if they've been given.
No,
I know. Let me go.
Absolutely.
I understand why it's not entirely accurate. That's why I want to ask the question. Have you seen this comparison of printing costs?
I just picked it up outside, yes.
Okay. To the extent that, what it purports to show is perhaps a savings when we're printing ballots for digital scanner and it's showing a comparison for ES&S cost based on it being the M100 and the Hart being digital, and it's showing a purported cost savings, a lower cost potential for printing costs of ballots if they're going to be read by a digital scanner. Would it be your representation to us that if and when we convert it over to DS200, your digital technology, we realize similar type print saving costs?
First off, I am the systems guy, and the sales guy's going to strangle me if I answer a pricing question.
Okay.
But in general, from a technology perspective, I think as you move towards digital, there are technology advances that will allow you to ride that wave of digital printing and flexibility, and yes, you should over time see reduced paper costs.
Okay, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I'm not looking for a price quote for getting the printing necessarily, although we might, if you're ready to commit to a great one. But what I'm looking for in terms of, we made some assumptions on how the Hart digital system works and what we can do with printing and that to realize some cost savings. And what I'm asking from the system side is, are there any differences in the ES&S digital and the DS200 that you'd say realize similar savings?
From the digital paper processing, I think you're going to see similar advantages. When we speak, and I could probably answer not your question and talk about the different streams, but I'll leave that to Matt here. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Matthew Nelson with ES&S, and I believe your question, Mr. Frost, is it would be the same. You would realize similar savings with a digital scanner from ES&S.
Thank you. And we based this, and that was the correction that needed to be done and put together quickly, that we touched base with Hamilton, of course, using this Hart product, and they gave us a figure about 16 cents. Of course, we don't know what the DS200 costs approximately because it isn't used, other than in Florida. Do you have an idea what their cost per ballot is in Florida when they print with a DS200? I mean, that's kind of what we're getting at, right?
Again, it depends on how the county wants to procure, their ballots. I believe Hamilton prints in-house.
Right.
So if that was a choice of your county, you would be, in those similar ranges with a DS200. And again, it all depends on what printer the county wants to choose for their ballot costs.
And not to put you on the spot at all, wouldn't necessarily expect you don't know what some of your clients in Florida, if they print in-house, what they're paying per ballot offhand.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Chairman, could I ask one
Please.
question? Hey, Matt, follow up on that answer you gave Rob Frost. Now, the size of the ballot, too, will it be comparable in the DS200 to the Hart system now? That currently you are unable to produce a ballot with a width of 11 inches. And will that, once you go to digital with the DS200, will you be able to produce that similar ballot that they have?
An 11-inch width
Yes.
ballot? No. It would be an 8.5 width ballot.
So that would potentially affect the cost difference then in an amount of races you can put on a ballot.
That would all be depending upon how you laid the ballot out. That isn't necessarily the case, and in many cases, perhaps 11-inch paper might be more expensive than 8.5-inch paper because of the thickness of the paper. So you may actually have more expensive printing costs if that could be the case.
Look at the subtleties of this business, I'm telling you.